Good afternoon and hello, everyone. My name is Rich Longo of Flycast Partners, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for today's webcast on Simplify Your IT Operations Management with SolarWinds, presented by Michael Driscoll. Now, Michael has been with SolarWinds for almost 7 years now and is networking and systems monitoring expert. He has experience working on the front lines in a NOC and for an MSP to eventually managing a NOC. Michael has been an enterprise monitoring lead for a Fortune 500 company with well over 20 years of monitoring best practices with his customers and coworkers. Michael plays an important role in helping organizations address their monitoring needs. Now, with that, I'd like to go ahead and talk just a little bit about Flycast Partners. Before we get started, let me introduce us. Flycast Partners has well over 5,600 engagements, and we're a veteran-owned and operated value-added reseller in the North American market. But 5,600 engagements all throughout the U.S., Canada, and yes, including Germany. We have just over 1,200 customers over a variety of different industries and government agencies. One of the reasons for our continued success here at Flycast Partners is our team. They take a look at your current solutions and processes and the way they are today and where you want them to be for tomorrow. Then we take the time to assess your problems and issues and determine urgency within your organization. Our team ensures that your IT goals and business goals are in alignment, helping you with efficiency and costs. Flycast Partners delivery team delivers a sustainable solution at the right price for you at the right time. And it is important for us to maintain the focus on our customers' needs despite despite any shifts there are in technology in the IT marketplace, because we all know how fluid that is. Your success at the end of the day is our focus at Flycast Partners. We want to be your long-term IT solution, services, and training partner. I encourage you to reach out to us at 844-FLYCAST, that's 844-359-2278, or visit our website at flycastpartners.com and chat with one of our IT experts live Monday through Friday during normal business hours. They'll be happy to provide you with any data sheets, white papers, or any other information that you require. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and turn it over to Mike and let him introduce us to SolarWinds.
So, thank you all for your time today. As Rich said, my name is Mike Driscoll. I'm the sales engineering manager for the enterprise accounts here at SolarWinds. SolarWinds, if you didn't know, we were founded in 1999. We're based out of Austin, Texas. You can see some of the stats there. One of the ones I like to talk about is the user community we have, which is thwack.com. 150,000 plus members. There are product managers, there are customers, there are various experts there. That's actually how I came to work for SolarWinds. I was kind of recruited directly off of that site. Over 320,000 customers in countries all across the globe. So this just talks briefly about some of our office locations that we have throughout the globe. So like I said, we're headquartered in Austin, Texas, and then we have various support and development teams around the globe. So as Rich said when he kind of opened it up, the IT landscape is very fluid and very changing. I really love this picture here because I've been doing monitoring and IT now for just a shade over 20 years. And I can remember when the server that my apps were loaded on was in the same room that I sat in, right? So I had my computer and I'm accessing an application that's literally 10 feet away from me in the room that I sat in. That's no longer the case in most organizations. Now we have things that are SaaS hosted. There are multiple integrations. So even things like maybe I'm logging into Salesforce, but then I'm also authenticating into my domain and various plugins. So all these different pieces. So the network and applications have became much more complex. And then obviously you throw into things like work from home, and now you've added another layer of complexity on it. So the IT's landscape is always changing, but one thing that's not changing is the need to know how my applications are performing, how my users are performing. Are the applications responsive? Do I have problems? Do I have problems that I need to have a third party work on? Like maybe it is something Salesforce, I need to have one of their dev teams, or is it something on our side? And as some of these little stats here kind of showed, 29% of an IT team's bandwidth is spent dealing with these various digital performance issues and the dollars that translates to that organization. There are various different points within an environment. Like I mentioned, a lot of times you'll translate things into a business service, for example. So my messaging application may be made up of 20, 30 different servers and applications all within the environment. And it's being able to see into each one of those to see where the problem lies, to not only get the issue resolved as quickly as possible, which is always the number one goal, but also to avoid the finger pointing and being able to quickly identify where the issue is at in the environment so that you can get it solved. So that's kind of where we come into. So IT operations management simplified. So this screen here is looking at kind of the disjointed pieces of the environment. You've got various tools. Maybe you've got a tool that's doing your network health. You've got a tool that's doing hardware. You have a tool that's looking at applications. You have all these various tools, all typically owned by different teams within an organization, especially the larger the customer, the larger the company, the more likely that they're going to be siloed to some degree. And you'll have, your Windows teams that take care of the Windows servers. You'll have your Linux teams and so on and so forth. And they all have their own set of tools in a lot of cases. So that's where we come in, is trying to simplify that very complex into something that is easy to understand, easy to visualize, and easier to troubleshoot. So you can see all the different points from within your environment, whether it be something with the network or with an application or with a database. Being able to see all those various points that make up your digital environment and be able to troubleshoot those and resolve those quickly and effectively. So this is our portfolio here at a high level. So as you can see there, we've got different personas. You have your IT operations folks, you have your IT security, you have DevOps. And all of these different pieces come into play. So service management, your ticketing system, for example, that's handling your change life cycle and your incident management. And that encompasses everything you see there. And then we have all the things IT, the application performance management. So looking at, like I mentioned a moment ago, how the applications are performing. Are they responsive? Are there signs of issues or high error rates? And what do those applications run on? Well, typically they run on databases. So are my queries efficient? So being able to see what's going on in the database perspective. Your infrastructure. Are my servers? Are my VMs? How are they all performing? Am I correctly provisioned with enough resources in my environment to handle the load of the applications that I'm running on them? And then finally, the network, right? And that's where kind of SolarWinds got their start, was in a network monitoring, network management environment, looking at the network that all of this still rides upon, whether it's your internal network or whether it's the connections at your cloud provider, at your SaaS provider for the applications that you run. So whether those applications and devices are on premises, or if they're in the private cloud or public cloud, we have a hybrid approach to be able to see those applications and those devices wherever they might sit, either internal to your network or in the cloud environment. So why IT operations management? So IT operations management to us, or ITOM, represents that full stack of where your applications run. So it can be monitoring at the server level. It can be monitoring at the application or the database level, or checking on the various controls that allow a user to log in and authenticate to an environment. So testing each one of those pieces and monitoring each one of those pieces. So you have a very good understanding of not only how your applications and how your network is performing, but also what the user experience is. A lot of us have kind of been spoiled by the likes of Google and Amazon. You go to a web page from your home and it's lightning fast, right? You're used to that very quick performance. And now we have that same level of expectation when it comes to the applications we use for work. It used to be your work network was far faster and far more performant than your home network, and those landscapes have changed a bit. So you're now used to these very fast application response times. You wouldn't go to if you go to look at a travel site and you go to pull up travel listings for an area you're looking to go to, and the page is sitting there spinning and not loading, what are you going to do? You're probably going to go to another site. Well, within your own work environment, you don't always have that option. You need to use that tool. That's a tool for that particular part of your job. So we need to make sure that those things are running performance wise. So trying to take all these different pieces, whether it's the people, the processes, the technology, to make sure all the incidents and changes to IT infrastructure and services are managed efficiently. Rich gave a little bit of my background before I started talking. And one of the things that we did at my former employer was actually we ran a little bit of analysis on all of our Sev1 incidents. And we came to find that over 95% of our Sev1 incidents were impacted by change, whether it was a planned change, whether it was an unplanned or an unauthorized change. They were impacted by a change. So that's all this kind of comes into, whether it's just monitoring and incident management, but also things like change management and monitoring for changes and being notified of what changed. And then there are pieces within our tool set that can also do those type of things. One of the things that we like to talk about here is that our products are powerful on their own. We have all kinds of customers that run just the network performance monitor or just the server and application monitor. We have customers that do those pieces. Maybe that's all they're looking at. Maybe it's just a network team and they want to know how their piece of the world is performing. And then we have also the ability to combine those tools so that you can not only get a bigger view of your environment and see the big picture, so to speak, but allows you to solve those interconnected problems, because our applications rely on the network. Our applications rely on the databases. Our applications rely on the infrastructure. So being able to see all those things and tie them all together effectively with little user intervention, meaning you don't have to manually go say this application lives on this server or lives on this VM, being able to tie all that together for you and visualize it so you can quickly identify those critical business services and business applications. So this is a breakdown of our of some of our products here, and covering that same stack we looked at a minute ago. So we had application performance monitor. So that's going to be, and we have two tiers here. We have our licensed products, and then we have some SaaS tools as well. So on our licensed product side, we have, for example, server and application monitor and web performance monitor. Then on the SaaS side of that equation for APM, we have APM Integrated Experience, which is a cloud-based tool that is looking at the actual performance and the code that runs within that application. Same kind of goes for database. We have our database performance analyzer. And then we also have a SaaS-based tool that does similar yet different functions within that space. IT infrastructure, network, security, service management. And the service management, if we would go back to that previous slide, I'm not going to, but if we were to go back to that previous slide, that service management covers that whole stack, right? So that's your ticketing, your change, your incident management, asset inventory. It's looking at every piece of that within your environment. because all those pieces are tied together, and all those pieces you need to be able to not only open incidents when needed, but also report on them, look at things like outage duration time and mean time to resolution, and do the type of work I mentioned at my previous employer, where we analyzed our tickets to see what the root cause of those environments or those issues were. Before I go on to the next slide here, though, do want to talk a little bit more about this. So there are obviously numerous different tools within here. And we have various packaging where maybe we're looking at just network performance and maybe traffic analysis, and that's all you need. Perfect. You can buy those pieces and use those to monitor your network. If you need additional functionality, if you need to look at more sections of the network, you can buy those as well. You can add them on later. So it's not stopping you if you don't have them today. They can be things that are added on to it, so that when you get maybe when you your organization grows and you add these various pieces, or take in the additional components in the environment to be able to see everything all together. We have a lot of customers that start out like that. That's actually how I started out 16 years ago, was using NPM. I worked for a managed service provider. I worked in a NOC. I used NPM to monitor my customers. And then as we began offering additional services to our customers, I bought additional tools to help me do those type of things and get additional insight into them. So it's a completely natural evolution we see a lot of our customers go through. And then some of our larger organizations, they may come in and buy several of the products all at once to try to get more of a solution or a suite of tools compared to solving for a particular use case. We have all these products, right? There's a lot of information. So how do we have all these features, have all these tools available, and still keep our 20 plus year promise of making our software easy to try, easy to buy, and easy to implement? Well, that's where the SolarWinds Customer Success Program comes in. So we have lots of different avenues here. We have SolarWinds support. So we have different tiers of support, and I'll talk about that a little bit on a following slide. We have the SolarWinds customer portal, where you'll find your downloads and also access to things like live virtual classroom training or recorded virtual classroom training. You have your SolarWinds Success Center. So Success Center, we're going to find all of our various knowledge base articles and have our various customer Success Center, where we have our various knowledge base articles, troubleshooting documents, admin guides, release notes. SolarWinds Academy. So we have various certifications. So we might have some customers that want to get SolarWinds certified. So we have different levels of certification for in various products. So there's an NPM cert, for example. There's a Server Application Monitor, a SAM cert. There's a design certificate, for example. And then there's some additional pieces here. So I already touched on THWAC earlier. So THWAC, as I mentioned, near and dear to me. That's where I kind of got my start here at SolarWinds as what we call a THWAC MVP. It's a very good community of users helping users. One thing I have found in my 20 years of doing this, which I find hard to believe it's been 20 years, but 20 years doing this is very seldom are you reinventing the wheel. You're not doing it for the first time. Somebody has tried to do what you're trying to do before. So a lot of times I will see examples of customers trying to maybe create a report or create a monitor to look at something. They'll go out on THWAC and either ask their question, and somebody else will come in and provide them a link or a response to assist them with it, or they'll search the site and find out that somebody has already tackled that. Here is a report that maybe it doesn't do 100% of everything you were trying to do, but it got you 95% of the way there. Or maybe like an application template. So with a set of monitors to look at the various processes and services that make up your application. Then we have a and I mentioned I would come back to the support on the following slide, but before I get that, then we have SolarWinds Smart Start. So this is a program that we put together to kind of jumpstart your rollout of the tools. So let's say you bought, for example, NPM. And you wanted assistance getting it set up, following best practices, making sure you've got your devices added, making sure that you've got things like your alerts configured, or making sure you're able to visualize and utilize the product from very early on of your implementation to it. So that is a paid offering we have to kind of handhold you through some of the initial setup of those products so that you can get off to a good, successful start. So I mentioned SolarWinds support and different tiers. So when you purchase one of our licensed products, for example, it comes with professional support. So that tier of support is included. Your first year maintenance is included when you buy a product. Then there are additional levels of support you can purchase if maybe you're a larger environment. Maybe you have things like the need for a higher level of response, or I like to use a Premier Enterprise one as an example, because in that case, we actually you can have up to 5 named contacts. You work with very specific support engineers on our time. On our side, we do things like a yearly comprehensive health check or upgrade planning. So different levels of support compared to the traditional break fix that's included with the profession. So something we started offering not too long ago was subscription pricing. So to be clear, this is not a SaaS solution. This is subscription pricing for the traditional licensed products I mentioned earlier. So where we might have had before NPM, for example, your network performance monitor, as the screen shows here, you have options to buy the perpetual license, which includes the first year of maintenance, and you have that for as long as you need to use it. You pay for maintenance every subsequent year. Or you have the ability to do a subscription. Maybe maybe it's easier for you to spend OpEx instead of CapEx. Maybe you're strapped for CapEx this year, or maybe you're rolling off of another tool and you're looking to come to SolarWinds and you already had that yearly OpEx spend, and it's real easy to roll that subscription dollars into subscription licensing here. So it is really just an additional method of allowing you to purchase the software. It can be done either way, so subscription or perpetual for our licensed products, but it is an offering we have, and it does fit some customers' use cases, obviously. SolarWinds version upgrades. So one of the things that's included within your active maintenance is access to new versions of the software. That could be new features on occasion. So we've done things obviously throughout the year to add different features or device functionality to our tools. Could be better performance, could be increased scale. So there's a screenshot there on the right-hand side that talks about the release 2020.2 that had faster performance, increased our scale by 2.5 times up to from the previous version. Multiple ways to upgrade. So one thing that we've been working on for several revisions in a row is the upgrade experience for the customer. So being able to conduct upgrades quickly and efficiently to handle the environment. So how do we get you there? So there's upgrade resource pages. So it talks about what is required for upgrade. There's actually even in our products itself, it has the ability, if you're on a relatively newer version, it has the ability to tell you if you want to upgrade to this version. It'll run some pre-flight checks and tell you about potential things that you need to resolve first, or make sure that you have the various steps kind of documented. So the tool will actually help you plan your upgrade. So you have the ability to run through just a scenario to help with the upgrade compared to actually kicking it off, which you can certainly do there. And then there's other resources as well. Obviously, I mentioned our THWAC support services. So support will help, like a break fix. If you run into a break fix issue with an upgrade, then we also have some Smart Start paid upgrade services, as well as leveraging our various channel partners like Flycast. So finally, several different resources here on this page. We'll briefly just touch on the security incident. So there are resources here that talk about our Secure by Design build process that you can look at. So that top link actually takes to that page, and I believe there's an upcoming webcast next week that'll discuss that in more detail regarding our build process and our security. So there's some various links that you can have kind of a takeaway. And I believe that brings us to the end of our slides. So at this point, I'll say thank you and turn it back over to Rich. And thank you for giving us the time to present to you guys today.
Mike, I want to thank you so much for talking to us a little bit about what SolarWinds brings to the IT world and some of the solutions that they offer that many organizations could utilize. It is very important to Flycast partners to make sure that we are aligning ourselves with folks in the industry that are on top, that are constantly changing, evolving with the industry, and making sure to provide the proper tools that organizations need to create efficiencies. With that being said, should you have any questions, folks, we don't really have time for questions today. This is one of our shorter ones. If you do have questions, go ahead and email those to us at info@flycastpartners.com, or you can call us at 844-FLYCAST. That's 844-359-2278. Feel free to chat live. We have people standing by Monday through Friday during regular business hours. They're happy to get you anything that you're looking for, whether it be white papers, data sheets, training, support, remote administration, and options of different solutions that your organization may need. That's what we're here for. And with that being said, folks, I'm going to turn over the rest of your day to you, and hope that you all stay safe out there until our next presentation.